Welcome to the Event Engine Podcast. My name is Lee Matthew Jackson, and today we have on the show the one and only. It's young Mike from ExpoCast. How are you today, mate?
I'm very good. Being called young is a nice treat. I turned 40 the other month. So that's great. I love
Well, I'm
that.
42, so I can call you young legitimately.
Fantastic. Does that mean I can call you
Amazing.
old?
Like, absolutely.
Poor
Ask
Nicky,
me
no.
if you want any advice on being 42 and how to avoid doing your back in when you just do something as simple as sitting down. I'm here for you. I'll get
Yeah,
you
no,
back.
I once sprained a wrist just rolling the window down in a vehicle. And that was years ago. That was in my early
What?
30s. So yeah, no, I
Wow.
don't go there. Yeah,
Nah. Okay. That's
RSI
a whole other
from
podcast, isn't it?
yeah. This is we've gone off track already.
The Grumpy Old Men show, isn't it? Or something that used to be on years ago. I remember that. We're actually old enough to be on that. That's scary, isn't it?
Oh
So
goodness, yeah.
before we go too far down that track, Mike, who are you? Let our wonderful audience know all about you, the wonderful Mike, young 40-year-old, and ExpoCast.
Yes, young 40-year-old. Let's carry on with that. I'm Mike Frost, founder of a company called ExpoCast, which is a recruitment consultancy for the global events industry, and it launched in March of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, we're just really, really painful first 12 to 18 months, but I'm still here, which is great. Which means we survived, have a lot of fun, helping out event organizers, event technology companies, find the right people for their companies and their teams. Basically, that's it in a nutshell.
That's amazing. So I absolutely want to go there. How the hell did you survive during COVID? You launched March, like literally in lockdown. March was lockdown, wasn't it? Or was it May? But it was pretty much events were not happening.
Yes, it was a very interesting first 12 to 18 months of running the business. So I launched it with a co-founder at the time, and she and I had worked in the same firm recruiting for the events industry. So we knew what we were doing, and we knew what we wanted to do. We just couldn't do it because
Yeah.
events stopped happening and recruitment industry went off a cliff as well. So how did we survive? I got a mortgage pause. What do they call it when you have a pause on your mortgage?
Yeah.
Basically, we
Like
just
a
tried to,
holiday. Yeah.
yeah, that's it, mortgage holiday. Just basically stopped spending as much money as possible.
Yeah.
That was kind of it. We did a few slightly different things to get a little bit of revenue in. But mainly, we took it as an opportunity to get involved in all of the industry conversations and initiatives that started happening, because the whole industry just became way more collaborative for that period during the
Yeah.
pandemic. And bizarrely, it ended up being a little bit of a positive for us in terms of being able to get out in front of an audience of the industry. And even though we as individuals, our names were kind of semi-known already, we managed to get the brand name out and kind of elevate our own names within the industry, so that when the vacancies did come back, a lot of them came to us just because we'd been so active trying to help the industry kind of come back as quickly as possible. So yeah, it was a weird period, kind of bizarre to think about it now. I almost don't really know how we survived. Basically,
That's the best
same,
answer, I
yeah,
guess.
yeah.
You could have said tins of beans and
I
and
mean,
all that sort
there
of stuff.
was
But
probably definitely some economical food choices during
yeah, mate.
that time as well. Definitely.
That's phenomenal. But what I love what you've done there is you've recognized that this is a time where we can't necessarily provide recruitment services right now.
Mm.
We're gonna find a way to survive personally, which you did, epic. And we're gonna use this time to be helpful and build relationships. And that's something that people very often don't think about, isn't it? They think that I'm going to grow my business by marketing and selling my product to as many people as possible, whereas you guys
Yeah,
have gone down the we're going to build relationships and be helpful to people. And it sounds like when things shifted, i.e. we could now start meeting again, presumably that's when you guys started to get the opportunities.
yeah, absolutely. We did. The people who we built really strong relationships with during that period
Mm,
are the people who came to us either to try and find a job now that there were jobs around, or
hmm
to use us to find the right people for them. I mean, as you can imagine, we had a whole heap of candidate conversations during that period with
mm,
no vacancies whatsoever because of all of the redundancies. So we, yeah, again, had managed to build up a fairly strong database from scratch during that period, even though we weren't actively trying to recruit for any particular roles. We were just attracting people who knew that they wanted an events job as soon as there was an events job available, basically.
Mm.
Um, yeah, it was pretty wild. But and also I think we just were naturally drawn to try and help out. I mean, neither of us had come from a marketing background anyway, so it's not as if we could have put together some kind of really snazzy marketing campaign to say, "Hey, we're
Yeah.
here. We've got no jobs." But but
That's a genius idea.
yeah, I know, right?
That'll get attention.
Uh, but yeah, we like trying to solve problems.
Mm.
I've always, and I think I'm recognizing it more and more in myself, I've always just been a problem solver. You know, when I did work in other businesses, someone couldn't find a stapler or whatever mundane issue they had. And this is probably isn't selling myself as an employee. Lucky I don't need a job. I'd always just get up from my desk and be like, "Oh, don't worry, I'll find a stapler for you." And it's just like that natural
Yeah.
inclination to try and help people out and solve problems, which I think is hopefully what I would say makes me a good recruiter, and yeah, good at spotting the opportunities to match people with businesses and with teams.
I mean, so on that, I mean, just being able to kind of look beyond the day to day, look beyond the marketing plan, look beyond your business, and actually start to get to know people so that you can help put them in jobs or find opportunities. How would you go about doing that then in this kind of relational slash problem solving mindset that you guys have?
Yes. So, I keep saying we, my business partner, she actually left the business back at the start of the year on very, very good terms. But I can't stop saying we, even
That's
though she's never.
okay. We is good
Um,
because it's the
yeah.
royal we, and you're
Yeah.
projecting the fact that you are going to grow in the future. So if you say we, we'll
Yes.
forgive you.
I appreciate that. So, yeah, it's always been quality over quantity, which means
Mm,
it's always, even when there are vacancies, it's a low volume of
mm,
roles that we're working on at any given moment in time. So the chances of us having an appropriate vacancy for any candidate who just stumbles across us or decides to get in touch because they've made that call that they want to look for a new job, it's actually not very high that we'll have a
mm,
suitable role for them. So our, I guess, unspoken target for every conversation we have is that we always leave somebody with something, some positive action that they can take, whether it is, talking to us about a specific role, that's the ideal. But
mhm,
even if it's just we've been able to give them some advice on where else they could look for vacancies, somebody else who might be a better point of contact, because my focus is all about exhibitions, conferences, and event technology. So if
mm,
I've got somebody for an agency background come to me for a new job, I'm not necessarily the right person, but I
mhm,
can point them in the direction of somebody that can. So yeah, it's always, I guess it's about trying to build goodwill
mm.
and a reputation of just always trying to do the right thing by people. Um, I guess that may mean, bottom line, don't make as much money in the short term. I'm really confident that in the longer term, all of that goodwill eventually kind of brings people back around. And if I don't make enough money, or sorry, if I don't make as much money even in the long run, I can sleep well at night. Like,
Mm.
I've got two young kids. Sleep isn't exactly unbroken at the moment as it is. I'd much rather have a clear conscience that I'm always kind of trying to do the right thing by people, whether it's clients or candidates. So that's basically our ethos in not a nutshell, because I've rambled, but yeah, that's how it goes
No,
basically.
no, I get it, and I also get the lack of sleep. I have a 4-year-old who still hasn't worked out how to sleep all night, and I was sleeping next to him last night just for comfort. So I'm there
Yeah.
too. But I think what I'm hearing, the thread here is that we've got it's still that problem solving thing really that's inbuilt in
Uh,
you, where people are coming to you and you are developing relationships with people where you're asking them questions. What is it you're looking for? How can I help you? These sorts of conversations. And when you realize, oh, well, I can't necessarily help you right now, but I do know somebody who can, you're also a connector.
mm,
So
yeah.
you're someone to first of all, someone comes to you for advice, for a conversation, for help, and then you connect people. And I totally agree with you. It does come full circle. At some point, someone's going to remember. Mike had my back at such and such a point. I've now got this amazing job as a result, and I know he specializes in X, Y, and Z. So I'm going to give him a call and see if he can find me some staff for this particular project that we've got upcoming. And I truly believe that happens.
Yeah, no, and actually, that has literally happened to me this week,
Amazing.
which
I'm a
is,
soothsayer.
yeah, yeah, so there's a chap who, let's just say, lived in an area where there were very, very few events opportunities,
Mm,
and managed to very quickly find something within a commutable distance for him. However, through his own network, he ended up taking a different job that paid way more money. So I was like, if you take my job, I'm going to be really annoyed.
mm.
It's like,
I get you.
dude, take it, man. And the client, my client, was on the same page as well. He was like, yeah, he'd be a crazy person not to take
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But yeah, he gave me a call on Monday and said, right, we've got some roles. I promised I'd kind of do right by you because I knew you helped me out, even though I didn't
Oh,
go with your
amazing.
vacancy in the end. And so
Yeah,
here we are, and I'm, at that stage now, signing on a new client. So it does come around. It doesn't always work that way, but it doesn't need to always happen.
yeah.
I know that I've done the right thing, and if good stuff comes from it, fantastic. And that's it. And it just then opens up doors for me to be able to help other people too.
I mean, we've essentially been, without saying the word, talking about networking, I think, for the last like 15 minutes, haven't we?
Yes.
In a
Yeah, there's
way.
a very good chance that's what we've been doing. Yeah.
I think that's what we're talking about. And
Mm.
I mean, the reason I say that is that we've talked about having conversations and we've talked about, solving problems for people, et cetera, et cetera. But I bet some people are listening thinking, well, where do I go and find all these people? How do I find these people? How do I start these conversations, et cetera? Could you speak into that maybe?
Yeah, and look, that answer is going to be different for every
Mm,
individual involved. It depends on what the purpose for you wanting to network is.
mhm,
Although what I would say is that regardless of your purpose, networking is always going to be beneficial for you. So it depends on which part of the events industry you're a part of. It depends. I think that for me, a big thing about networking is don't necessarily go out with too rigid of an expectation as to what you're going
mhm.
to get out of it, whether it's an in-person event, whether it's something online like Activate that you and I were both just on,
Yeah.
and you can kind of network outside of the mainstream. um, just you know there is serendipity in networking, and you do have some fantastic random conversations that can lead to incredible things. If you are going to have some kind of structure to your networking, rather than build up a list of like specific people that you want to speak to, I
Mm,
would say it's more about leaning on the people who are already in your network. Get them understanding what it is you need at the moment, whether it is I need a new job, whether it is I need a mentor, whether it is I need to find a recruiter, whatever. Like,
mm.
get your network knowing what it is you're looking for so that they can then make the introductions. Because I think that is the strongest way to start any kind of conversation, is when it's kind of come with a bit of a recommendation from a mutual,
Yeah.
somebody that you know mutually. So that would be, it's not really answered your question, has it? In terms
No,
of
no, it kind of
where
has.
do they go?
But
But
it's highlighted something. I think it's highlighted something that we all actually have a network when we don't realize it.
yeah, however
We
small it
already,
exists,
yeah,
right?
however small that network is, it needs to start somewhere. So if your network is two existing clients of yours ever, because you're a brand spanking new business and you only know two people, or be it you've met a few people over the years at events and you've stayed in touch on social media, etc., you kind of have a network. So you could at least start at that
Yeah,
point, couldn't you? If you've never met anyone in the industry ever and just have these few people, it could even be your mum and dad. I don't know. It's just the fact that we do
well,
have some sort of network. And you hit the nail on the head there, educating people as to what it is you're looking for. If people know what you're looking for and you can really kind of verbalize that in something that's simple that sticks in people's mind, the minute they
yeah,
notice something that's, oh, Mike said he was looking for somebody who wore baseball caps and did podcasts. Oh yeah, that
yeah,
Lee guy. Because it's super specific, super easy to
Mhm.
remember, super random. I know that's a terrible example, but you get the idea.
Yeah,
That's is educating that network, and also flipping right back to the beginning of the episode where you're talking about helping people as well. Is not only educate those people, but also how can I help you guys? What are you looking for, etc.
Right. It
Because they're
goes
going to
two
reciprocate, aren't
ways.
they?
This
Yeah.
is it. It goes two ways. You know, they will simultaneously say to you, yeah, absolutely. I'll introduce you to anybody I come across.
Mm,
By the way, if you happen to know anybody who meets this criteria, like context is way underrated.
yeah.
Like, I think a lot of the time we just kind of wing it, don't we, with networking? You just kind of go out there and see what happens.
Yeah.
And as much as, yeah, don't, like I said earlier, don't necessarily have a list of targets that you want to go and network with, because they'll be
Mm.
able to tell if you walk up to someone and they've been on a
Probably have a
list of
script.
yours. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, it's like, that person will know. That person will
Yeah.
know. Yeah, this. There's some sort of agenda here. But yeah, but give people context. Let them know what it is that you need, and that, you know, that is something you can apply to looking for a job as well, right?
Mm,
And there's I've done a free course available on the website. It's like 6 videos, and a big part of that is like building this team of people around you when you're
mm,
looking for a job. And essentially, there's the 3 parts of it. I've given them cheesy names. What were they? There's the hearts, which is like people you know personally, like whether it's parents, best friends, partners, whatever, who
mhm,
will kind of understand more about you from an emotional perspective, and whether or not a certain job or potential line manager is going to fulfill that emotional need that you've got from a role. Then there's the heads, which is like your network amongst the industry. So whether that's, you know, colleagues, former bosses, mentor, whatever, people who you know in the industry who can potentially be out there networking, trying to find opportunities for you. And then
mhm,
like the pros, which is somebody like me, you know, a recruiter who's out there advocating for you, has really got to understand what you want and can keep you like front of mind when that right kind of opportunity comes around, or whether maybe you want to talk to that person about having a shot at a few speculative introductions, you know, really targeted. So there is a whole value to giving context to your network and applying that to whatever your current ambition is, you know, whether that's a step up in career, whether it's you need to bring on a few new clients for your current role, whether it's, yeah, you know, whether it's a target that has been set for you by your
mm,
line manager, for example. Apply your network. Like, there's a wealth of knowledge out there. It's just not in your head yet. It's out in your
yeah.
network. Just go out and talk to people, but tell them what you need. I'm a big fan of just ask questions. Like, worst case scenario, it ends up maybe it was a bit of a dumb question, and but like, if you're asking it of someone who respects you, they're not actually going to think any less of you. They should be like, oh, Mike, that was, get one, you know the answer to that. But
True.
best case scenario, they give you the exact bit of information that you need to get you a
Mm.
bit closer to whatever your current goal is. So yeah, huge fan of really recognizing how you're surrounded by networking opportunities. You're probably doing it and you don't even realize.
I think we're networking right now in theory because we're building up some sort of rapport. I'm
Yeah,
understanding what you do.
this is it.
The moment somebody mentions to me they're looking for a job in the events industry, you know, you are now the guy I know who I'm going to say, yeah, you need to talk to Mike. He's really down to earth, nice guy. He'll sort you out. And if he can't help you, I know he'll pass you on to someone who can. There's a great example of a conversation that I've learnt about you specifically, and will probably do when it happens. I'm sure it
Well,
will.
appreciate in
Yeah,
advance.
that's
Thank
all right.
you.
Yes, all right. I now need to go and find someone for you. If now I've said that,
No pressure. It's all right.
no pressure. So let's. Could we talk about specifically people who are looking for jobs now in the events
Yeah, of
industry? I
course.
think
Yeah.
this will be really useful to them. I don't know what level we should look at here, but some people know they want to work in the events industry, but they're not really sure how to say get into the industry or what it is that they necessarily want to do in it, etc. Because you mentioned goals and stuff earlier, and I think some people just they don't really know what their goals are, and for some of them, it's just basic burger. I need a job, and I've got an events degree,
Yeah.
or I need a job and I kind of like the events industry. It looks exciting. So how
Yeah.
can they kind of start to unpack all of that so that they can actually say something that's helpful to people like you in order to get a job other than I need a paycheck?
Yes. And sometimes it is talking to someone, whether it is a recruiter or whether it
Mm,
is, like I said earlier, you know, family members or whatever, talking to people often helps you find out the answers that kind of hadn't already identified, because
mm,
people will ask you questions in a different way than you would ask yourself those same questions. So
mhm.
if you just try and kind of sit down and go, right, what do I want? That's not, it's too big, right? That's
Yeah.
too big of a question. So I I recommend, if this is something you're going to just do by yourself, is at least for the first stage, break it down to what do you want from a personal perspective and what do you want from a professional perspective. And like the
Mm,
professional side of things, it might just be, well, I need to pay my bills, Mike. Like
mm,
that might be it. It might be that, actually, I want to be on the festival side of events. I want to be on the trade show side of events. I want
mm,
to work for an event technology company, whatever. Um,
mm,
it, whatever you do know, write that down. If actually there's a few different types of things that you're interested in, write the list down. Okay, I'm
mm,
happy for it to be festivals or trade shows or event technology. If you
mhm,
can prioritize them, great. If you can't, don't worry about it. But just get some kind of structure to what you're looking for. And if you really don't know, that's when I think it's beneficial to try and find someone maybe like me who, or whether it's, I love all the industry associations are amazing.
mm,
um like we've got a partnership with the Association of Event Organizers, for example, and I'm always saying to people, like, even if you're out of a job, because their members are companies, right? But even if you're an
mm,
event professional without a company, so you couldn't be a member of the AEO, they would still absolutely love it to
mm,
hear from someone who's like really excited and keen to get into the industry. That's why they do what they do. It's a not for profit, right? An association.
mm,
They're not doing it to try and make a huge bottom line. They're doing it because they just really love the industry. So if they get somebody reach out to them who's keen to get into the industry, that's going to get them really excited and want to help, and help that person identify what they want to do. But there's lots of industry press out there. You've got Adam Parry running Event Industry News. You've got Mash Media and all of their publications.
mm,
So you can learn and kind of consume information about the industry. And the more that you do that, the more likely you're going to say, oh, well, actually, I kind of much more enjoy reading the stories about concerts. Like,
mm,
I think I want to get into that kind of entertainment side of the industry. Or, yeah, okay, conferences might not be the most exciting format, but actually, I love researching things. I love kind of deep diving into subject matter, and I want
mm.
to, get involved in putting the program together for an event and trying to recruit the best speakers possible. Like that really kind of enjoy that kind of process. So the more that you can consume information, the more that you can talk to people about your professional or personal kind of goals and let them ask you questions
Mm.
to help your mind kind of turn the cogs in a slightly different way to get the answers, that the easier you'll be able to identify what it is you really want, and then you can apply that to a job search. um, it's a, and I don't think that kind of process at the beginning of a job search is really thought about enough. People just
No.
go, I need some money, I'll go on LinkedIn Jobs or
Yeah.
Read or whatever it is,
Well,
and,
that sounds
just
good.
kind of
I'll apply for
type
that.
type type some keywords in, hit the
Yeah.
apply now button. Whereas actually you can be much more targeted, much more targeted. And the thing that we saw a lot in the pandemic, which really makes my point, I think, regarding being targeted with these things, is that you had people who really needed a job, right?
Mm,
And they were just applying and applying and applying and applying and applying. But every single time that you apply to something and get either no response whatsoever, or an automated no thank you, or even
mm,
if you get to an interview or whatever and you don't get the job, that's just rejection after rejection after rejection. And if you're doing that at volume, that's a lot of rejection to take. And it kind of,
mm.
we were seeing that it was really impacting people's mental health. So if you can afford to take a more focused approach to a job search, it's actually like just healthier.
Yeah.
let alone the fact that you're probably going to end up with a job that is much more desirable to you as an individual. It's just healthier, right? To be
Well,
looking after yourself and your mental health, and just
yeah.
not getting all of these knockbacks and knockbacks.
That's a really kind of blown my mind there. So
So
we've got we've got here in most circumstances, or in many circumstances, people know they want to be in an industry, but they don't know really why, and maybe they don't even understand their own identity, their own selves very much. So, having those conversations and consuming the content and having a look at what sort of content you're consuming and saying, oh, actually, I seem to get really excited by that particular line, the event tech, and such and such said that I'm really good at solving problems, and such said that I have a great communication skills, and such said I'm really good at sharing complex information in a way that, non tech people uh, can
yeah,
understand. These are all things, and I can start to build up this amazing picture about myself. So now, instead of me just blankets applying for every single job going, I could actually now maybe focus on, say, a marketing role in an event tech company. So that's now a very, very specific role. And that's something that somebody else can go, oh, yeah, I understand exactly what you're looking for. If
yeah.
I was to go into any networking environment, be it business, be it finding a job, be it whatever, and I say, I'm looking for anyone or anything, then most people are just going to go, cool.
This is
I
it,
can't
right?
think of anything. Yeah.
Yeah,
But if I go in
yeah.
and say, I am looking to work in an event tech company as a marketing administrator, whatever, social media manager, or work on the conference, I don't know, gaffer tape, whatever the heck it is that you're really looking for,
Yeah,
that's going to connect in people's heads, isn't it? And
absolutely. And it's
less
one of
rejection
those,
in theory as well, because there's less jobs to
in
apply for.
theory.
Yeah,
Yeah,
in theory.
yes. And, look, and again, I'll caveat all of that by saying that I do understand that sometimes you just need a job, right?
Hmm.
If you
Totally.
like really just need to be able to pay your bills, ignore me
Hmm.
and just, do what you need to do. I'm
Yes.
by no means advocating that people risk the roof over their head to be able to get the
No,
perfect job for
absolutely not.
them. Um, but it's also like, how you look up at the night sky, and the longer you look, the more stars kind of seem to
Mm,
appear because your eyes are adjusting. It's the same thing with this, like this identifying what skills and traits you've got, what interests you. The more that you think about it and the more that you talk to people about it, the more you will recognize, oh wait, yeah, no, I do that all the time, even if
mm,
it's just like a weird character trait. It's like, yeah,
yeah.
but you can probably translate that into a potential skill set that'd be really applicable to a certain type of job. Um, it's once you kind of start on that, I don't want to make it sound over the top, but like that kind of self-awareness journey or whatever,
Mm,
it doesn't stop. But I think that's a really good thing because you as a
yeah.
person are going to change throughout your life and career anyway.
Oh, yeah.
So if you start getting into the habit of recognizing things about yourself and asking questions and letting people know they can ask you questions about yourself,
Mm.
you're going to have a much better understanding of where you are at that moment in time and then what the next right step for you as an individual is.
Well, that's
So
powerful
this has
stuff,
got
mate.
this has
No,
got
it's really,
really,
really good.
really big picture. This wasn't my
It's
intention at all, but
amazing. No, I love it. This is like we said right at the very beginning, didn't we? We didn't know where this was going to go, and we went deep. I love it. This is
we've
this is
gone,
phenomenal.
yeah,
Can we flip then the script onto onto people who are recruiting for a role? And
yeah.
I've unfortunately hired and had to sadly fire in the past, and that could be for many reasons, including me hiring just the wrong person and not asking the right questions, or me not even advertising the job correctly, or whatever. But could you maybe speak into what people in the events industry who are recruiting could be doing to find better candidates and hire the right people? Because having to rehire is just so freaking expensive. And yeah,
It's expensive in
yep,
so many different ways, isn't it? It's not just the cost of,
mm,
if you've paid somebody like me, for example,
hmm,
for a fee, but it's also that cost of the time you've now got to spend
mm,
not doing your core job, but actually reviewing applications, interviewing and everything. Um, to answer your question, there's quite a lot to do before you even really go to market.
mm,
It can be, you can look at it quite simply and say, okay, well, I need a salesperson. This is the type of thing I sell. So ideally, it's a salesperson who has also sold something like this already
mm,
so that there's less training that they require.
yeah,
Um, but there's more to it, like we have just gone on a real big journey about, finding yourself or whatever.
Yeah.
It's also important to do that, as a hiring manager, as a business. Lots of companies have got missions and values and whatever,
Mm.
whether it's somewhere buried on a website or painted on the reception wall or whatever. Um, are they accurate, right?
Mm.
Is that,
Yeah.
is that actually the kind of, you'd call it the company culture that kind of filters down through the
Yeah.
business? Or is it just words? And actually, in that case, let's get your employees involved and rewrite that stuff so that it makes sense and that everybody can really resonate with it, and somebody coming in has the right expectations of what it is like to work in that
Mm.
business. A lot of the time, when roles, when people don't work out in a vacancy, is because expectations have not been set accurately.
Mm.
The company might just be in a bit of a hurry, or they might just not understand how much detail they need to go into, or how much information they need to gather about an individual to assess whether or not they're going to be the right fit. So I had a conversation with a client earlier who had some turnover issues, and essentially it was because expectations hadn't been set regarding the difference in the clientele that
Mm.
the salespeople were selling to. It's a much more, I guess you'd call it, aggressive marketplace. So salespeople needed a lot more resilience because they were going to meet with a lot more blunt no's before they
Yeah.
eventually get that yes. And candidates weren't being made aware of this. They'd worked in a business where they were really successful at sales,
Mm.
bit of I don't want to call it a gentler clientele, but not
Yeah.
quite so punchy. And they were coming in and finding it really, really hard, and
Mm.
having to work incredibly long hours and just burning out, and then having to leave the business because they weren't hitting targets. So managing expectations accurately, whether that is the really like quantifiable stuff like target numbers. For the love of God, be honest about the commission that people
Mm.
can actually earn, for example, or the
Yeah.
bonuses if it's a bonus role. Uh, there's a lot of real inward understanding that I think would
Mm.
be beneficial to a recruitment process if companies don't always feel like they've got the time to do this, right?
Mm.
It's super reactive. I find
Yeah.
it's very rare, or rather uncommon, to have strategic recruitment take place in the events industry. A lot of the time it just seems like, okay, well, all of a sudden we've got a load more private equity money, so we're going to go launch, or acquire.
Mhm.
We need to hire. We need bums on seats.
Yeah.
Or, oh crap, someone's resigned because they've left to a competitor, or we've just
Mm.
completely burned them out.
Mm.
We need to fill that seat. And it's so reactive. You don't have time to put the detail in. So rather than wait until you've got a vacancy to do this kind of reflection and really build an accurate picture of what your, not even an ideal employee, but the persona. If you're in marketing, you put together this kind of picture of your ideal customer, right? Your ideal
Mm.
customer profile. You're used to building that. Do the same as a business. Do that kind of ideal employee profile. And it's not to
Yeah.
say that you're only going to hire certain types of people or demographics. That's absolutely not what I'm saying.
No.
Because
No.
and the whole other part of this is, when you do go to market, make sure you're going out to the whole market.
Yeah.
So all of your, the advert, the job description, it all needs to be really inclusive language. You need to make
Mm.
sure
Mhm.
that demographics who aren't necessarily on the, platforms like LinkedIn or the main job boards are still able to find your vacancies.
Mhm.
There are several like DEI job boards that are specific for, there's oh gosh, what's it called? I can't remember what it's called now, but there's, one specifically for the LGBTQ
Mm.
community. There's jobs that are specifically for, I think, neurodiverse people. And it doesn't mean that those jobs have to be just for those people, but it's more about making sure your vacancies are findable by
Yeah.
everybody, because there's a lot of talent out there that just don't ever find out about your roles, because you're just chucking up, you're copy pasting your job description as an advert for a star,
Yeah.
which is just the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
And then you're just chucking it up in one place, maybe two, throwing it out to 7 recruiters who are just going to like spend maybe a day on it and then not risk spending more time on it because one of the other
Mm.
6 might place it,
Yeah.
and then seeing what comes out. There are ways to be much, much more strategic. So yeah, I could keep talking about this
I'm
for
sorry,
a
it was a
very
massive
long
question,
time.
but you've
No,
given
no,
us it.
no,
I mean,
it's okay.
you,
So
you've given us the main point here is that whilst the people who are looking for jobs need to do that introspection, we need to do that the same as a company. We need to understand, who we are, who
super
we
fair.
serve, what our culture's like, what sort of people we want to attract. We don't want to bring people in who perhaps, like you said with that sales example, have had a softer experience, as it were, and
Or
this
even
is going to be a cutthroat. We,
it's
we
not.
we need to
Yeah,
be honest
sorry
about
to
that, etc. No, keep
that's it.
going.
And yeah, sorry, no, and it's not even to say that by identifying these differences, that means that actually you can't hire all of those people because they
Mm,
don't fit. It's about identifying the gaps and
mhm,
then like have your onboarding process and your procedure, have it really thorough for a start,
mm,
but also agile so that no matter what somebody's gap in their skills, you are able to fill that. Yeah. I
mm,
mean, you do need to manage expectations as to what they're
mhm.
coming into. If it is someone who,
Yeah.
just to stay on that sales example, if it is someone who's coming into something that's, what you might consider a bit more of a harsher sales environment,
Mm,
they need to know that they're coming into that, but they also need to have faith in you that you can teach them that resilience that they need. You
mm,
can teach them how to get the yeses, how to respond to more no's.
yeah.
If you cannot do that, then you shouldn't hire that person because it's not fair
Mm,
on them and it's a waste of money and time for you. Um, but yeah, it's not about doing this kind of real assessment of what you are as a business, what you are, who you are as a hiring manager. It's
mm.
not about whittling down the candidate pool until there's only one person in the whole world who might be right for your team. It's
Yeah.
about identifying all the different bits that would make somebody feel like a real part of the team, like they've got ownership over
Yeah.
what they're doing, that they're gonna kind of feel excited to go to work every day and want to do what they do, no matter how much resilience they need, they kind of enjoy it
Mm,
and they thrive on it. And if that's something that you need to help them develop,
mm,
you have armed yourself with the skills to be able to develop them. So I find it all like really exciting because there's just endless possibilities to be able to upskill companies and hiring managers and candidates and employees. And it's yeah, I don't know, it's a huge thing. It's people, right? There's no two people are the same. And if you treat your recruitment as if they've just got to meet this like set of hard skills on a job
mm.
description, then you're really going to struggle with retention and just
Mhm.
hiring in the first place. I'm going to shut up now.
No, but but
there is,
that again, I can understand that this role is
yeah,
going to entail all of the above. So not only are
uh,
we looking for people who might meet, some of those requirements, but equally we need to recognize that there are going to be certain things that we need to support whomever comes in. So when that
yeah,
person comes in, we're identifying any weaknesses that they may have because we're human. We all have weaknesses. I know for me personally, too many no's in a row, and I feel pretty damn depressed. So I'm going to need someone to support
yeah,
me in
right.
that,
It's
and
tough, isn't
you
it?
know,
Yeah, yeah.
give me the cognitive behavioral therapy or whatever it is I need
Yeah.
to
In-house
get over that.
counselling. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, give me the
pretty
counselors.
sure that pretty sure some companies
That
have
was
got that as a
extreme.
benefit, haven't they? Yeah.
They should do really, but
Yeah,
you get the but I certainly get the idea, and I know that I do recognize that the question is probably a book and a whole series of books worth of answers, but you've definitely given us enough
I'll
for
write
that
it one
whole
day.
yeah, you should do, mate. It's good.
Yeah.
I can tell it's in you. It's bursting out of you. Well, I mean, at that point, mate, this has been a phenomenal conversation. I know we could just keep going for hours. We should probably call it a wrap because I'm pretty sure most people are near the end of their commute and they've been listening and enjoying.
Yeah,
So, for folks who want to get access to that, I believe you mentioned some downloads, etc. How can people
yeah.
find those, and how can people connect with you? And then we'll say goodbye.
Yeah, sure. So basically, for me, I'm on LinkedIn. That's really the only social media that I
Hmm.
tend to actually
Good
stick to.
choice.
Every 6 months or so, I try Instagram. It lasts for a few weeks, and then I fade off of it again. So yeah,
Yeah.
LinkedIn is where to grab me, and then the website it is expocast.co.uk, and on there, in terms of just those kind of free things, there is the course for job seekers,
Hmm.
6 videos, completely free to access, and hopefully it will help you kind of put together that picture of what you really want, and then it gives you some of the real tangible stuff. There's CVs and there's interview
Yeah.
tips and offer stages, all of that. And then for companies, we do also have like a free assessment of your current talent attraction. So it's
Hmm.
about 25 questions, and it'll give you a customized report at the end that basically
Oh,
says,
brilliant.
you're really good at this, you're a bit shit at this, you're kind of middling to average in a few others, and then you're really good at
Yeah.
this, and like here are the things to kind of try and work on to improve.
That sounds
And then
really useful.
obviously,
Yeah.
you know, there's a link to my calendar on there somewhere so people can book in for a call. And that's that, really. Yeah, website and LinkedIn.
Amazing. I thought you were going to say that you're also a big deal on TikTok, and that we
God,
should all
no.
follow you because you can do these epic dances and you've gone viral multiple times. But clearly not. That's all right.
Sadly, not. No, that's not in my repertoire just yet. My daughter is 7, so I have a feeling TikTok is in my future somewhere.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Oh
it's
dear.
not yet.
I deleted my account eventually. Well, thanks, mate. You are a legend. I've
Nice.
really enjoyed talking to you. I hope we can
Yeah,
have you
thank you.
on again
That's really
soon.
appreciated. Would love
Have a
to.
good one, and I hope you get some sleep
Awesome.
tonight. Take care.
Cheers. Likewise. Take care. Bye.